Hello, world. Welcome to the resistance. Welcome to the vocal minority with Nick and Steve. Thank you for being part of the 48%, the vocal minority. The revolution will not be televised. I repeat, the revolution will not be televised. It will, however, be podcast, because here in the club, we all fam. Take it away, boys.
You all ready to get this podcast started, Stephen?
Yes. I'm ready and waiting. That's all I do. I just sit in this room every day, every week.
Oh, you never leave, dude. You're just always there.
Got a bucket in the corner. It's getting nasty.
We should be profiting off that. We should have like a Stephen 24-hour feed, you know?
I'm sure there's a page on OnlyFans that would definitely enjoy that, so I'll look into it.
All right. Well, welcome to the podcast, The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. We're glad you're along for the ride and appreciate you.
Do appreciate you 48%ers, or you MAGA types that are just self-hating, loathing, and want to listen to this to drive yourself nuts. We'll take whoever, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening, love us or hate us, we appreciate it. Either way, it benefits us. And thanks for all the downloads. As of late, we've got a ton of social media you've been visiting. But if you didn't know, what do we got, Steven?
Well, let's see. As of right now today, we have YouTube, we have Reddit is our biggest one, and TikTok is a big fan favorite for sure, plus Facebook, Instagram, Threads. Oh, Blue Sky. Blue Sky always deserves a special little shout out for the liberal bastion that it has become.
That's so true. We wiped our slate clean from X, so yeah, we're one of the people that are dipping out because, well, we think the stand means something. So help us affect change. Join Blue Sky and quit X if you haven't already.
Yes. TheVocalMinority.net is our website, and we have a comment line if you want to chime in and get vocal. It's 844-48-VOCAL.
Yeah. Use your telephone as a microphone. Don't be a little pussy. I mean, come on, pick up the phone. Let us know what's on your mind.
And I will say, this is our last recording session. You know, we're recording for this week. So a week from, no, it's this Sunday, the TikTok, probably, I'm predicting, is going to go away for a short period of time.
All right. Now, some explanation is needed because I was looking at some stuff today, and I thought, early in the process, Steve told us on the Vocal Minority that you'll still be able to access the app. You're just not going to be able to update it and yada, yada, yada. Well, now that's kind of what we're being told for the first time by the mainstream media. They're saying that that is the way it'll work. However, when TikTok was testifying or talking to the Supreme Court, they said, we don't know what'll happen. It may go black. We're not exactly sure.
Yes. So the original theory was this ban essentially only says that the app stores can no longer support or offer for downloads or updates. So first of all, any loyal TikTok users, by this Saturday, you better run whatever update is the most current update available, because that may be the last one you're getting for a while. But yeah, the theory's always been, and yeah, I've been seeing the mainstream media talking about it, that the app will still work. You can still log on. Down the road several months, updates may start to short circuit and glitch it out. The feed may not work as well. Content creators may start to leave it. However, TikTok, I mean, unless I misunderstood this, said that on the 19th, if law is not repealed or if Trump hasn't enacted the extension, which he couldn't, he's not president until the 20th, that they're going to pull the plug on the servers. And that is what would make it go black for us here in America. And I think they will do that to stick it to us, to up the pressure, to make it more of a mainstream front page news that TikTok is gone.
See what it's like without it. You know, like we're daring you. Fuck around and find out again.
Exactly. And honestly, I wouldn't blame them if they did that. Now, obviously, I hope they keep all of our accounts so that if this does get remedied, we can all be back on. But yeah, I don't technically know now what's going to happen, but I would predict that on this coming Sunday, TikTok probably will stop access for Americans. And there is the VPN thing and the workarounds, but most people aren't doing that.
And that's what they did in India. You know, you mentioned on a few podcasts ago that, you know, TikTok was cut off in India, and that's exactly how it happened there. And I mean, it didn't entice India to be like, oh, okay, we'll sign back up. So who knows what's going to happen, dude?
Yeah, like I said, I predict it's probably going to go away for a bit. Trump has got a zillion day one things he's pledging. What happens or not, who knows? But on day one, he could enact this 90-day extension. Just let's put it back on. Let's try to work this out. That would be the smart thing to do. And I always hesitate when I say Trump could do something smart and assume he will. But hopefully that is exactly what will happen. We'll see.
Well, and like we've mentioned before, it's for his vanity. So we do have a shot at him, really standing up for this and getting it back online as fast as possible if it goes off.
Oh, absolutely. His vanity is the most important thing to him. So the fact that this appeals to that, that's a win probably for all of us. And like we've been saying, this would be such an easy win for Trump, to extend it. And honestly, knowing what a showman he is, he probably would want the thing to go black for a little bit so he can really be the hero. Let's really light this thing up and step in. But, whatever. Give the man the easy win. Like, we want our TikTok back.
Yeah. That's funny, dude, because you're exactly right. But he is, don't you think Trump's the kind of guy that loves a ta-da moment? Where he's ta-da! I did
absolutely. It. And like I said, it's such an easy win. Yeah. And again, like one of the legal talking heads on NBC the other day said almost word for word what I said months ago, that a president cannot undo a federal law, but they can choose not to enforce it. It's why marijuana exists in multiple states around the country. Because it's illegal federally, but every administration has said, hey, my DOJ, don't prosecute it. Just let it go. So that's what Trump could do. And then the fact that he has total control, they could rewrite the law and, make it permanent.
Do you think it's risky at all for a company like Apple or Google Play Store, whatever it's called? I don't know about you Android users out there, but do you think it's dangerous or risky to go off a handshake deal to say like, yeah, this isn't federal. I'm just not going to enforce it and keep offering updates. Is that dangerous?
Yeah, it's definitely dangerous in some levels. And so I'll be curious to see what Apple and Google do. If Trump says, I'm not going to enforce it, will they take that risk? Or that's why I say, like, more likely he's going to have to say, I'm not going to enforce it. Hopefully that'll be that window where they can turn the servers back on. Maybe no updates are being offered, give them time to make it official. For that 90-day extension, they would have no problem going back on. That there would be no legal threat. But if that lapses and Trump just says, wink, wink, nod, nod, I won't prosecute you. If I was Apple, would I trust Trump? Probably not.
Yeah. So. We've seen how many handshakes that he's pulled back from, or handshake deals. So
right.
I'd be nervous, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, indeed we will. So in the meantime, plenty of other news to get to and plenty of social medias. Like I said, Reddit really is doing the best for us. So find us on there. We own the Everything Bubble page. We're on that thing every day. People love us, and the moderators haven't banned us, so apparently we're doing okay.
Yeah, that's good news. Let's see if there's any other good news available in this great nation.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you this. We interrupt our program to bring you a special.
Here is a news bulletin. We interrupt this program to bring you
the humanity and all the faith.
A date which will live in infamy.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Need to know news. News you need to know.
Steve Harness.
Hi, that's me. Hey, I've got women singing my name. How powerful is that?
Yeah, there's men and women in there. Let's not get homophobic, dude. Come on.
Are there men? I only hear the female voices. Maybe that's just how my ears are tuned.
That's the way you're wired, dude.
Yeah, we are approaching the MAGA takeover, and I got a couple of stories. I got a little theme here of the MAGA civil war and the deterioration that is going on over there already, and they haven't even taken control yet. And this may actually be a continuing news story for the next year or two. That these people are so short-sighted that they don't know their enemies from their friends, or at least who's on their team. And, there may be some fun implosions coming. So a couple of stories on that topic. This headline, betrayal. MAGA activists promise to raise hell as they swear vengeance on J.D. Vance.
Oh, boy. Come on. We kind of knew this was coming. Everyone was so impressed right out of the gate with J.D. Vance, but he is freaking weird, dude. He is weird. And on some sides, too reasonable for the MAGA crowd.
Right. And I think that's what this topic is right here. He's trying to be somewhat reasonable, and they don't want to hear that. And the lack of loyalty and team support on the side is just freaking comical to me. So, yes, they're vowing vengeance on JD.
If you want it in the story, I've got audio on what he said and why they're so irate.
Sure, yeah. Let me set it up here. Donald Trump's number 2 has found himself to be the number 1 target of several faithful members of the MAGA movement, including the January 6 rioters. So, do you have some audio of what he said for his Fox News interview?
Yes, here is what some would consider a little reasonable moment with J.D. Vance.
I think it's very simple. Look, if you protested peacefully on January the 6th and you've had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And there's a little bit of a gray area there, but we're very much committed to seeing the equal administration of law. And there are a lot of people, we think, in the wake of January the 6th who were prosecuted unfairly. We need to rectify.
Here's the problem with applying logic. Like, you're correct. Like, that would be a somewhat logical thing to say, that the people that were violent, obviously. But you got to understand, these MAGA people all think they were there for a just cause. So whether they were violent or just protesting peacefully, they all feel like they're under the same umbrella. And if you're saying that the whole thing was unjust, that, of course the election was stolen and these were patriots that came there to protest, how can you start splitting hairs and saying that some are worthy of pardoning and others weren't? Weren't the true patriots the one that enacted violence under that messed up logic?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to get there because I obviously know that that's bullshit. But, I get what you're saying. I mean, they would struggle to think so.
Right. So that comment struck a chord with numerous Trump supporters, including Philip Anderson, Mr. Anderson, a Texas man who was arrested on felony and misdemeanor charges connected to the riot. And he said something here very telling, because how many times have the MAGA types tried to say that Trump didn't organize this? He never set us loose on the Capitol. Like, it was just a peaceful protest and some people got out of control, blah, blah, blah. So this guy who was arrested says, quote, telling your own supporters that the election was stolen and then not giving them a pardon or communication after you sent them in to what you called a fedsurrection or a trap is a betrayal. All of the J6 defendants must be saved. J.D. Vance is wrong, and I hope Trump will save his own supporters. First of all, why do they think that J.D. Vance has the final say in any of this crap?
Oh, he's just giving his opinion. I mean, he wasn't acting like he was going to do something.
Right, and he's just a puppet. And what happened to vice presidents don't do anything? Like, I can't decide. Was Kamala Harris the all-powerful puppet behind Biden, or was she a vice president that can't pass laws or do much of anything? Like, so they're all taking this out on J.D. Vance, who just said something kind of common sense, but it's not up to him.
No, everything is two-sided, though. It has to, if it benefits them, I can kind of change my view. I can kind of wiggle around.
And how did they not get pissy with Trump? Because let's just say somehow J.D. Vance convinced Trump that we shouldn't be doing this. Like, that's still Trump's decision. He's letting J.D. influence him.
Yeah, 100%. But we've already learned that Trump is the vice president, right? Isn't Elon Musk running this?
Right. Yeah, I can't figure out. Is Musk the supreme emperor, or is he the real president? Trump's the vice president. J.D. Vance the water boy, I think. But
when we talk about the news cycle expiring so quickly, I mean, these are the conversations that have happened over just the past week about Elon Musk, and people are forgetting it already.
And, as we've said since J6 happened, it drives me nuts that Republicans and conservatives and MAGA try to say they're pro-police, but then are okay with pardoning people that beat the living crap out of police.
Well, again, I mean, you set up this scenario with they thought they were real patriots. Those were bad law enforcement, Steve.
Right. And yes, they were FBI agents, and they were some sort of liberal, protesters out there. And like, people, when you have to do this level of mental gymnastics, you may in fact be in the wrong, and obviously you are. Now, none of these J6 people should be pardoned for anything. They broke the freaking law. But, of course, the violent ones should not even be under consideration.
No, of course not. But they will be. I mean, well, maybe I back off of that because, like you said, promises made, promises kept is what was promised. But will we see it with everything? We've already seen him backing off a ton of stuff that he won his campaign on.
Yeah. No, and we'll talk more about some of those topics this fine show. But I would have to believe that in Trump's mind that you have to pardon all of them. You're saying it was all unjust and all rigged and blah, blah, blah. So how can you split hairs? Because then that would be acknowledging that some of them clearly went too far that day, whether you put them up to it or not. You either got to be consistent or not. So,
yes.
And Trump doesn't want any grief from any of his little minions. So I bet he will end up pardoning all of them. It'll be disgusting, but it's what he'll end up doing.
Well, it's kind of like the whole TikTok thing. It's an easy win for him if he just does it.
And there's no other way to rationalize what he's been saying for the last 4 years other than to pardon them all. And obviously he and JD have not had any sort of in-depth conversation on the topic because they're on two different pages. And for JD to try to apply any level of logic, I find it just hilarious that it's blowing up in his face. This is him trying to preach to his own supporters. They don't want your logic. They don't want rational thinking or enforcement of laws, JD. They want you to stroke their little egos and fill their fantasy bubble up. And now they're promising vengeance on you. And don't forget what they did to the last vice president. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I cannot believe, by the way, you mentioned Mike Pence and, they said they were going to hang him. And I feel like, and most people, logical people do, feel like that Trump really riled that whole thing up with, he didn't say hang Mike Pence, but he made a very bad decision. I'm very disappointed. He set his supporters loose on him, and I couldn't believe they shook hands at Jimmy Carter's funeral.
Yeah, that must have been a fun little moment for Mike Pence, because of course Trump painted a target on him. I mean, with all of his talk of him needing to do the right thing that day and somehow claiming a vice president cannot certify the vote. Like, of course he did. And that day he said, I don't give a shit if they're out there chanting hang Mike Pence. And so, yeah, that funeral, I don't know why Pence would have even shown up to that, but what a horrifically awkward discussion to have. And again, J.D. Vance, there's a reason you have the job. Your supporters who are now declaring vengeance on you tried to hang the last one. So good.
So be very careful.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens with that.
This is Need to Know News. News you need to know.
Hello, Americans. This is Paul Harvey. Stand by for news.
Stephen, I take you to a different arena of conversation outside of politics for just a brief moment. And I don't want to make light of this story. Let me start off by saying this. I don't want to make light of this story with laughs and giggles and sophomoric behavior, but it may happen. And this is a real story about medical issues with the beloved Brooke Shields. She recently had a big interview. Brooke Shields has been in and out of the media since she's, been on the front page of magazines as a model for a long time.
Yeah,
she's controversial with vaccines and, postpartum depression. She got into it with Tom Cruise. Well, now she comes forward and she says, listen, I got to tell you about something that happened 20 years ago that I, at the time, just couldn't find the wherewithal to discuss it with the public. I didn't want the public to know. But Brooke Shields was asked a great question by her OBGYN. That's her poontang doctor, right?
Yes. I think that's what his business card says.
I think you're right. This is what her doctor asked her to get this whole thing rolling.
I was asked by my gynecologist if I experienced discomfort. I said yes.
Okay. Well, let me elaborate. Discomfort means sexual discomfort, right? And she said yes.
I thought it was like, do you read the newspaper and experience discomfort?
No, not just on a daily basis, but this is about her parts and when she has fornication, She said it hurts.
I love how you set this up with the poontang doctor and then go into fornication, a technical science.
Listen, I told you, I want balance out of this, Steve. I don't want to come off as too sophomoric, all right?
Gotcha. Okay, sure.
All right, so she said, yes, I do have discomfort. So she went in to have a labia alteration, okay? I think somewhat of a standard procedure, so she goes in to have it. She gets done with the procedure, talking to the doctor afterwards, like, how'd surgery go, blah, blah, blah. And this is a conversation that the doctor has with her.
He literally looked at me and said, I tightened you up a bit. And I was like, what? He just sort of was like boasting that he threw in a little bonus for me. And I was in such shock. I became numb. I didn't even know what to do because it sounded like he wanted me to thank him.
All right, so he gives her this labia alteration. That's what we agreed on at the beginning. This is what I'd like to have happen. You'll do it. Everything will be great. While he was in her, that was Freudian. While he was in there, he gave her a vaginal rejunification procedure that's tightening the poon.
Uh-huh. Is that really what he did, though? Because most doctors will say, like, when they do any kind of surgery, when they're stitching you up, that they're, I did a nose job, so I made sure I, tightened it up a little bit. Now your cheeks will rise. Like, I mean, is he really saying he did an entirely separate procedure, or just that, while I was in there and tightening things up, fixing things, like, hey, it's going to make you a little bit tighter. Added bonus for you.
Maybe, but I don't. What if I didn't want a tighter poon, dude? What if I was happy? What if my partner had a huge penis and it was uncomfortable to be any tighter than I am? Like, that's a mold some people appreciate and enjoy.
Yeah, we would have to have some sort of OBGYN on to really clarify this, because a labia reconstruction, there's all sorts of tinkering going on under the hood down there. So as you're sewing things up, it's naturally going to tighten things up. So I wonder if he's saying, like, just tighten it up because it's part of the procedure, versus I did something entirely separate that you never asked for.
Yes, this is the latter. Okay, because she said, I mean, there's obviously more conversation and more text in the interview, but she says many times that he walked out and the conversation was with the attitude of like, hey, threw a little freebie procedure in there, tighten you up while I was down there, so that's the question, right? If he did and she did not want that, do you think it constitutes med mal?
I think it constitutes an ungrateful model. If someone's repairing my car and they're like, hey, I changed your windshield wipers too, am I going to look at, a gift horse in the mouth?
It's not your body though, dude. Like, this is, you can always get a new car. Like, this is your body.
Yeah, listen, I would expect a surgeon, if you're in there and you see something else, you could just sort of, fix real quick for me, make better. I would consider that the sign of an excellent surgeon. Who wouldn't want to be tighter? I'm sure her boyfriend appreciated it. So.
Let me ask you this, okay? If the roles were reversed and you were just needing something done up on your pubic region, and when you were done, he gave you 6 inches, 6 additional inches.
That'd be quite an upgrade, but okay.
Gave you a big one while I was, in working on that pimple.
It's the thought that counts. I appreciate the extra effort. Are you charging me for that?
Right. Yes.
No. Listen, 6 inches. I mean, that would be a complete reconstruction, obviously. But if he's like, I was tightening things up and I added an extra inch for you, I'd be like, hey, that's very considerate of you.
All right. I think you're in the minority, okay? Because, anytime someone does something to my body that I'm not expecting, you may think it's an upgrade. I might think, that's a complete downgrade.
I will tell you, I had a nose job when I first started in radio because I had my nose broken in high school twice by the same kid playing basketball. It wasn't even some street fight or something. And I couldn't breathe through my nose. So when I started on the radio, my throat was drying out. I was losing my voice. Went to the doctor. They said, you got to have a rhinoplasty. We got to open your nose back up so you can breathe properly. And I was like, okay. It was a cosmetic thing in a way, but I was always pissed that I had this bump, and I was like, while you were in there, why didn't you just shave this thing down for me? You were already in there. You already had my face opened up. Like, no, I didn't specifically tell him to do it ahead of time, but you were there. You saw it wasn't perfect. Like,
you can't do that, though. You can't do that. What if I had that bump and I thought it was a personality characteristic? It added to my look. You don't know.
He was already destroying me and putting it back together. I don't know if you know what a nose job is, but they literally break your nose, open your face up, put this whole thing back. I mean, I had black eyes. It was a miserable experience. So,
how old were you?
20, 21, somewhere right around there.
Right. Were you in Seattle?
No, it was right before I moved.
Oh, so I don't know Detroit Steve. I mean, I know the stories, but I don't know Detroit Steve.
Well, I had my hubcap stolen while I was in there getting these surgeries. That was very Detroit, but yes.
You came to me as beautiful as you are, so I don't know any difference. But the point is, don't do stuff that's irreversible without asking me on my bate. We'll see what Brooke Shields does. It may be a big lawsuit.
Well, not if it was 20 years ago. It's not, because the statute of limitations would have long since expired. But I really would love to hear from an actual expert on the topic. I don't think the guy did an entirely separate procedure. I think he's just saying, I had to stitch stuff up down there. So, hey, you're tighter now. You're welcome. High five up front.
All right. We'll get someone on to talk about it. I can tell you, I'll predict the future. I mean, you're wrong. Like you can't do it.
Well, maybe, but she's not suing. Okay. That's
all right. Well, we wish Brooke Shields good luck.
This is Need to Know News. News you need to know.
Hello, Americans. This is Paul Harvey. Stand by for news.
Hi, Stephen. This is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me?
Clem, I'm going to kick you in the throat if you keep asking me this. I understand now why on this TV show this guy is so frustrated with Clem.
Yeah. You got to watch it. I mean, Stephen.
It came up on my TikTok not too long ago. This is why we need TikTok still, people.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I love it when stuff comes up that I've been thinking about or talking about. I love the magic of that.
Yes, because the Chinese are spying on us. God damn it.
Yes.
Everyone's spying on us. Speaking of evil people in charge of social media platforms, continuing my theme here of the MAGA Civil War implosion that I find hilarious. And I think it's on the old topic of even a broken clock is right twice a day, because Steve Bannon is now vowing to take down racist and truly evil Elon Musk.
What? Now they're fighting?
Yes, Mr. Musk, Mr. Leon Musk, as we call him on this show, far-right political strategist Steve Bannon and just tied at the hip to Donald Trump buddy, is fed up with Elon Musk. Bannon promised to oust the tech billionaire from the president's inner circle in a new interview he did with an Italian newspaper. Published a few days ago, he called Musk racist and truly evil guy.
Wow, dude. From Steve Bannon, that's a real insult.
Right. I mean, this is the Breitbart guy, the right wing, buddying up to, white nationalists and all this kind of stuff. And by the way, I don't think he's wrong. Musk does seem to be racist and truly evil. So, yeah, in excerpts from this interview, he says that he wants to have Elon Musk run out of here by Inauguration Day. Bannon has joined a field of anti-immigrant Trump supporters who turned against Musk when he said he would go to war to protect the H-1B visa program, which allows employers to hire foreign workers. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Beyond Bannon's policy dispute with Musk, he told the Italian paper he thinks the controversial CEO is a truly evil guy, a very bad guy. I made it my personal thing to take this guy down. Before, when he put money in, I was prepared to tolerate it. I'm not prepared to tolerate it anymore.
Yeah, now that the favor's been done, I'm not going to tolerate this, but thank you for the money.
Again, the lack of loyalty on this team. Do you people not see that any one of you can be cast out at a second's notice when you say even the slightly, wrong thing in their opinion? No matter how much allegiance you've pledged, how much money you've given, you turn on any one of them and they will throw you out because they don't care. They're using and abusing all of you for whatever they need, and then they're done with you.
In a New York minute, dude, it happens just like that. And now, look, we were talking about already with J.D. Vance being thrown to the wolves. Now we're talking about Elon Musk. Is Trump going to be standing up there like a lone dictator ruling? They're the only one that he's happy about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is what happens when you foster this sort of environment of dog eat dog. You think you're just attacking the libs and trying to own them, but yeah, now you're all turning on each other because you're all so power hungry. You all want what you want, and you view anyone who disagrees with you as your enemy. And the libs are an easy target, but now they're seeing it being turned on each other.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. I mean, Bannon went to jail for Trump. And so, I can't wait to see how all this shakes out. You're either all going to be, again, giant hypocrites because you would just ignore these things, or, the implosion is going to cause massive problems, and we're all going to sit back and giggle and laugh.
It's the only thing we can do. I mean, think about this, dude. Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, he bankrupted himself out of a great fortune for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And we don't even hear about him anymore. And Trump was like, yeah, you're old news, dude. I'm done with you. Doesn't matter how much you spend, you're done.
I mean, look at Rudy Giuliani. That guy put himself out on a limb for Trump repeatedly. And now the guy's literally having his assets seized and sold off because he's got debts for trying to hype up these lies of election fraud and interference. And as we pointed out before, Trump is above accountability. That ship has sailed. But it's not so for all of his minions. And some of these things are state crimes that Trump couldn't even possibly pardon you for, assuming he would want to. It doesn't look like he wants to.
Yeah. Think about John Eastman was a lowly professor, dude. He ruined his career by going along with this whole thing. He's no longer talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll talk about Michael Cohen here in a few minutes, another lawyer that was a loyalist to Trump for years and years and years, his fix-it man, and then, things go sideways. Trump disowns you. Trump had that man locked in solitary confinement. He was in prison for doing something Trump directed him to do. And while Trump was in the presidency, the first time he ordered, Michael Cohen into solitary confinement for no good reason whatsoever, other than he wanted to punish the guy.
Trump ordered him into solitary confinement?
Well, his DOJ did. I don't think they did it on their own. But
on his call? Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, it's, again, the FAFO, fuck around and find out. You think you're on some loyal team fighting your good cause, fighting us dumb liberals, and then you make one misstep and you all turn on each other. This will be fun to watch.
It's funny, dude. I mean, they are so loyal to Trump. And they see all this disloyalty and it doesn't scare them away a little bit. Like, maybe I'm putting in too much effort here.
No, they are so short-sighted because Trump has turned on multiple people over the years. I mean, before the White House, but especially since. So why do you think you're immune, Elon Musk or Steve Bannon or any of these people?
Yeah. It's when they start turning on each other like Steve Bannon thinks he's a racist. I mean, it takes one to know one, but that's crazy, dude.
And it's a win-win for us libs, by the way, because either Musk goes away or Bannon goes away. We don't care. It's hilarious to watch you guys infight with each other. So, I just need a popcorn bucket that just says like 2025 to 2029 or whatever. Just refill
4-year popcorn. That's a great promotion. We should come up with that.
Copyright.
So, all right. Copyright.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you We interrupt our program to bring you a special...
Here is a news bulletin. We interrupt this program to bring you...
the humanity and all the things.
A date which will live in infamy.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Need to know news.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
News you need to know.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, sometimes in radio when people die, like, Kurt Cobain dies, like maybe they don't play a song of Kurt Cobain to remind everybody. Or if there's when we used to have the Caldor fire, we would take like I Didn't Start the Fire off the radio.
Yes. Light My Fire by the Doors, yes.
Yeah, right, yeah. So I should probably not have that lady saying, Lord Jesus, there's a fire, because there is a big fire going on.
Yeah.
I mean, this fire, this is not even my news story. This is out of control. So if you got this in your stories, we can talk about it later. But
I mean, it's in here because I got to get into it at some point. But you tell me. We can do it an hour later.
Let me get through this and we'll go into it. I want to talk to you about all the threats that Donald Trump is making right now that just seem ludicrous and crazy to me. Like, buying Greenland, like taking the Panama Canal, like, Canada becoming the 51st state, for Governor, Trudeau.
The Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America. Like, there's a lot of talk about taking over places around this great world of ours. And the people that I know in my life, that's all they've been talking about. Like, holy shit, this has me worried, very worried about what's going to happen.
Are any of the MAGA people, though, like your brother, anyone else you know, are they jumping on like, yeah, let's take Canada, let's take Greenland, let's invade other countries? Or are you hearing any level of like, this is kind of weird?
Personally, in my personal life of the MAGA I know, I haven't talked to him about it, but I've seen a lot of MAGA influencers talking about it, like, F yeah, America. So I think there's people pumped up about it. Let's first talk about Trump wanting to buy Greenland, okay? I don't know if you know this, but Donald Trump Jr. went over there for a little publicity thing.
Yes.
Get people riled up. It was reported that he or his staff handed out MAGA hats to homeless people.
Yes.
Offering them a free meal. Okay. And then you'll be on camera, blah, blah, blah. So it looked like there was a lot of MAGA people out there. And he got caught. I mean, it wasn't that hard to figure it all out. But why are you doing that? Why do you think they would be MAGA? Like, why are you trying to start that lie?
Optics. All they need are optics. They don't ever need facts on their side. So they think they send Trump Jr. there and then send pictures home like, wow, look at all these, Greenland people, the greenish people. I don't even know what they're called. Greenlandians who are,
I think that's
pro-MAGA.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all optics. It's all theater of the mind. So they send him over there for a photo op to try to, hype up this absurd notion that we're going to take Greenland.
Well, Trump wants to do it. Finally, the Denmark made a little comment on it. I'll play it for you now.
People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security.
Of course, everybody is interested in hearing what is Greenland's position. And Greenland is not for sale. Greenland will never be for sale. We're well aware of the importance that Greenland has, but we're not for sale, and it's not up to U.S. to decide what's going to happen. It's up to the Greenlandic population. Greenland is not mega. Greenland is not going to be mega. But I think the majority in Greenland, they find it quite scary, actually, and quite uncomfortable that there's so much focus on Greenland and that U.S. is actually, in a disrespectful way,
trying to take it. I mean, of course they are, dude. That's their home.
Of course you should be freaked out. And, going back to the election, all of this, Trump's not Hitler. How dare you compare him to Hitler? Add this to the freaking list, trying to take over other countries. This is what dictators do. And Greenland should be very worried because, as I pointed out a few shows back, who's going to stop Trump if he actually does this? These are guardrails that we just assumed existed, that no American president would ever go use military force or even economic force to take over another country. Who's going to stop him? You think NATO is really going to form an alliance against us, threaten us with military action? Certainly Russia or China aren't going to stop us.
No, dude. No, this is how it happened the first time. It's how it could happen again, I mean, this is crazy to think. And just to further the point you just made, will the president take military or economic action to make this happen?
Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital. It's being operated by China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift.
They've abused that gift. Was it really a gift?
And in that press conference, by the way, that same reporter then followed up like, hold on, I don't know if you understood me. Like, you won't rule out military force? Like, he tried to give Trump an out of like, whoa, you just said you'd be willing to invade Greenland. And Trump was like, no, I'm not ruling it out. Like,
right.
What?
It shows you where his head is at. And for him to say that out loud, I mean, that's crazy, dude. I mean, if you really stop and think about what he's saying.
It's beyond crazy. Like I said, this is dictator level stuff. And he's flat out lying. This whole Greenland has a strategic advantage for America. It does. But we already have a military base in Greenland that we voluntarily took down to like a few hundred troops years ago. And the Greenland government, the Danish government have said even recently, like, hey, America, if you want more troops back at that base, we're all for it. We'll negotiate expanding that thing. Like, you can have a bigger military presence any day you want it. So if that's the only reason, strategic advantage, then we already have it. We already have a base. We can expand it anytime we want.
No.
He wants their resources. That's what's really going on there.
Of course he does, dude. And it comes down to the same thing as we were talking about how many places he wants to take over. He's talking about the Gulf of America. I don't know. I think it was last week or a little before you talked about Biden and him making great strides in offshore drilling by putting a nix to it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that I'm reading are talking about the fact that he wants to take over the Gulf of Mexico because then he can change that law already. That's an easy way to do it. This is what Trump had to say on taking over the Gulf of Mexico.
Mexico's really in trouble, a lot of trouble. Very dangerous place. And we're going to be announcing a future date change because we do most of the work there and it's ours. We're going to be changing sort of the opposite of Biden, where he's closing everything up, essentially getting rid of $50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate.
Wow.
Like, that is unbelievable that you can just start renaming things. I mean, that's a takeover.
Well, okay, first of all, I think he hears the word golf in there and just assumes it's like, Westminster or some. I think he thinks it's the golf course and he just really wants it to be his. So I'll give him some credit for not proposing it be called the Gulf of Trump or
Wow, didn't even think about that. You're right.
Right. He's showing some level of restraint, Nick. I think we should give him some praise for that. But
yeah.
According to multiple articles I have read, it's not up to us what that thing is called. Okay, there are international associations that regulate this kind of stuff, and you're not allowed to just change the name of something, especially if it's not exclusively in your borders. Just some vanity reason. Like, there has to be a real reason. So I guess we could all start calling it the Gulf of America, but that doesn't mean any sort of international shipping routes or anything, all the global maps. Like, no one else has to follow that. So I don't even know what the hell he's talking about as far as we're just going to rename it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, like I say, it's a way to take over something else. You know what I mean? Then America is expanding. We're getting bigger. We're just taking what we want.
Yes. As I've been saying, none of this stuff is a joke. He wants to redraw the map. He wants to put his stamp on it for all time to come. And besides the impracticalness of trying to fight this international group to be able to rename oceans and whatnot, which is just freaking ridiculous, it's kind of like when Twitter changed to X. Do you not think at all about how many businesses, small businesses, government businesses have the Gulf of Mexico all over their website, everything that would have to go into changing, how many road signs, how many maps, everything that you would have to change so you can simply tweak the name to match your vanity that it's the Gulf of America. It's a logistical nightmare to start renaming a major waterway like that. It's going to cost, I would assume hundreds of millions of dollars, and that may even be on the low side kind of estimate. And for what? For vanity. Is this making my gas cheaper, my eggs cheaper, any of the bullshit you promised?
He doesn't think about that, dude. He does not think about all the people it's going to affect, right? He just wants to do it. And you're right. He should have just, I would think he would say it's going to be Trump, the Gulf of Trump. So I guess we should love our small, tiny victories in all of this, but it's crazy. If you haven't stopped to think about it, really think about it, it's crazy.
And if you let him rename this waterway, look out Atlantic Ocean or Pacific Ocean or the 5 Great Lakes around Michigan, or he's just going to start renaming stuff. He will put his face on Mount Rushmore. This is purely vanity. He just wants to put his stamp. Don't give him an inch. He'll literally take miles off of maps.
Yes. Keep paying attention. We're just here to hold people accountable, whether that's just getting all the information out there so people know exactly what's going on, or maybe you can help somehow. But we got to resist, and welcome to the resistance.
This is Need to Know News. News you need to know. Start the news chant, please. Come on! News, 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 news!
News. So much news. Let's see. Here's another reversal, a backing down off of campaign promises before he can even get to his day one thing. A massive reversal. Trump ripped for already backpedaling on a key campaign promise. Critics are putting President-elect Donald Trump on blast after a key advisor appeared to back away from a major campaign promise. Trump has repeatedly claimed that he would end the war between Russia and Ukraine within 24 hours of taking office, if not even before that. But retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, who Trump has tapped to serve as a special envoy to those two nations, told Fox News a couple of days ago, echoing comments from Trump himself, that, quote, let's set it in more like 100 days and move all the way back and figure a way that we can do this in the near term to make sure the solution is solid, it's sustainable, that the war ends, and that we can stop the carnage. 100 days would be, I'm not very good at math, but I think that's 99 days more than 24 hours that he has promised he could effortlessly do this kind of stuff.
It's a lot of 24 hours, dude.
It is?
That's a lot. Yeah. I can confirm that that's a fact. This is what we're seeing with everything, though. Usually you look at people that brag about stuff and then don't accomplish it. It's like he's a blowhard dude, but they don't care. It's just crazy. All the stuff he said would be done. Oh, it'd be done immediately, very fast, very quick, and nothing already. He's not even president yet.
It's all the stuff that we were saying during the election. Like, he can't do that. He can't do it that quickly or at all. And everyone's like, no. He's Trump. He's the deal maker. He'll get it done. And even he is starting to pull back on some of these things. And someone asked him specifically about this claim. And by the way, 100 days, 30, 60, 90, that's 3 months and some change. That's what his advisor just said. When Trump was asked, he said, I hope to have 6 months.
Yes.
I hope.
Yeah. I hope to have months. A little more time. He's asking the teacher for an extension,
And yes, wow. The word hope just means he's hedging the bet even further. 6 months, that would be 200-something days. So even his advisor is off from what Trump is now saying would be the reality. I don't think Putin wants to give him an immediate win like that and look like he's Trump's little puppet.
Yeah, of course. You're 100% right on that. And that's going to dictate what he does. Listen, this is going to be one of those things when he can't get it done that he says, well, if it wouldn't have been screwed up so bad by Biden, I could have done it. Yeah, this wouldn't have never happened if I was president. He'll go back to that whole spiel, and people will be like, yeah, it was too messy. You guys messed it up too bad.
No, MAGA will eat that right up, because that's what they do. It doesn't matter what he says, what the logic is, how crazy it is, how erroneous it is. They just lap it up like little sheep suckling off the teat of their mothers. That is MAGA.
I was with somebody that was MAGA yesterday, okay? Someone that, I don't know if I want to tell you exactly who it is, but I'm friendly with this person, okay? And we're driving, and we just happened to be talking about the gas mileage on his truck, and he was like, once Trump gets in, hey, everything gonna change. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, yeah, you just watch gas go down. You watch it go right down. Just like, dude, what are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? Gas is not going to go way down, right? He doesn't have control over that. But they're like, he promised us eggs going to get cheaper and cheaper. I was like, these are the things, huh?
And they suck it up. And even when these things don't happen, it's not going to matter to them. It's just beyond infuriating. It pisses me off.
Yes.
Repeatedly. Yeah. And, I've seen a whole bunch of people already like, look, gas is under $3 a gallon in my state. Like, it's just because they even know that Trump is coming. The markets have magically responded. Like, so are you really saying that on Biden's watch, the gas is now where you want it to be? And I don't even want to try to give Biden credit per se, because presidents can't control a global economic market like that.
Yeah. Well, you're going to see a lot more of that, obviously. So I guess we get ready for it. We on this side already knew, but you get ready for it.
They accept what is good and makes them look good. They deny and ignore anything that makes them look bad and just claim it's all fake and a fantasy anyways. Like, it is so impossible to debate any of these MAGA people. Because it's just nothing is grounded in reality. Doesn't matter how factual of a thing you say, they will just tell you that's corrupt. It's from a corrupt source. It's from the mainstream media. Like, I don't accept anything you're saying. Even if Trump said it, he's allowed to go back on it. He's allowed to be wrong. Like,
there's always excuses. You know, like sometimes people will tell you, like, try and explain it without using any buts. Okay, you can't say but. You will make no excuses. You can't have a conversation about any of that stuff without a lot of buts, dude.
No. I could be a master debater if I could just make up facts and just deny reality. Like, that's easy to debate if you're just winging it.
Yeah, if you can just make stuff up and have to show no proof, no data at all, yeah, that's easy, dude.
Yeah. I can't wait for April 1st. We've got to do our all-conservative show just as the prank. I just want to try.
Yeah.
Like, some of these stories, I just want to see how fun that would be to just spin it the other way and just make stuff up and not be grounded in reality at all. Look how right I am. Like,
I just wonder if we're setting ourselves up for a nightmare that'll be the episode, like, that bites us in the ass. You know, 5 years ago, Steve was saying this, you know.
What does it matter? There's no accountability, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Hey, let's talk about this fire that's happening in California, dude.
Yeah, let's. There you go.
You are a person that can talk about this. I mean, you weren't affected with losing your home, but there was the threat, right?
Yeah, I mean, I lived in California for, I don't know, almost 18 years. And yeah, wildfires are a big deal in California. And it's not just California. Oregon's got it, Washington's got it, Idaho, Montana. Like, it's the western U.S., really. But California is such a big state that, statistically speaking, most of the fires do happen in California.
Sure.
And yeah, I was evacuated for 3 weeks from a fire that literally went through my town. My home was spared, thankfully. But I don't find any of this something to joke around about or to make political hay out of. I actually find it quite disgusting that even if Trump wants to claim there's some accountability that needs to be had on the part of Newsom, which is just fucking garbage, any decent person would wait until the tragedy is over and then you start to analyze this kind of stuff. But people, he does not have any solid points. He is just trying to make political hay out of someone he hates with Gavin Newsom. So, of course, he's lying about all this stuff. Of course, the fact checks show it instantly. But to see the MAGA world just lash out at California, to see politicians saying that they don't want to approve aid because California has caused this problem, is not only just fucking disgusting. The people are dying. Homes are being burned, schools, churches. You're making political hay out of it. You're also apparently forgetting that there are literally millions of Republicans in California, especially Southern California, that you're just giving the middle finger to.
Completely, dude. Lumping it all together is just, you know, the liberal elites. There's a wide spectrum of political party affiliation in California, and Republican may even be more. I don't know.
Yeah. Listen, he hates Gavin Newsom because Newsom is a rising star. He probably will be president someday. California is an economic and pop culture powerhouse. And yeah, it's a staunchly blue state that hates Trump. So in the midst of a tragedy, he is trying to make political hay out of it. Something you have never seen any president do, let alone a Democrat. I mean, we just had hurricanes and whatnot hitting blue or red states down south. Did you see Biden threatening their governors, threatening to withhold aid? The exact opposite. He's immediately on the phone with them, immediately down there. FEMA money being distributed. And Trump's lying about there being no FEMA money, even though his team just approved the new budget deal that put billions back into FEMA.
Did the same thing with the hurricanes, dude. Said, oh, people aren't getting their money. And they were getting it out. And it is sick. He's also really bothered by Gavin Newsom because he's younger, better looking, more well-spoken, you know, like I know that bugs him, but the way that he is politicizing this is crazy. You said the MAGA world is eating it up, and that same person I was talking about earlier was like, you see what's going on in California? You know, I was like, of course. He's like, yeah, well, they got a water issue. Gavin Newsom did it, and they ran out of water within 30 seconds of turning on the hydrants. I was like, That's not true, dude. That's not true.
It's not even remotely true. Listen, there were some issues where some hydrants ran dry, yes, because they're fighting a massive fire on a municipal water source that is not able to pump that much consistently hour after hour after hour. It's not that the water just ran out on the other end and there was no way to refill it. It's just that the systems can't refill that quickly. So, yeah, they've addressed it. They have figured out ways around it. There's also an increased need for the water because the airplanes, for the most part, haven't been able to fly because of all of these hurricane force winds. I mean, to call it a perfect storm is an accurate statement. And obviously, if there's some inherent issue with the LA County, water system, first of all, that wouldn't be the governor. It'd be, probably the mayor of LA that would be more on the hook. But yeah, of course, they'll look into it and get to the bottom of it after the tragedy is over. But every expert has said there's no municipal water source on the planet, no city on the planet that can pump that much water that was needed in that short amount of time.
Yeah, well, it's unprecedented, dude. We've never had to deal with this much water at once. I mean, this fire, for the first 3 days, I think, maybe 4, I go to bed and I hear it's at 6% containment. I'm like, 6%? It's a huge fire.
Yeah.
100-mile-an-hour winds are blowing this fire house to house. And it is, there's something to be said for seeing on mainstream media all these mansions, that are burning down. But there's a lot of blue-collar working-class people being affected by this. Some may say even more because they're living paycheck to paycheck. Can you imagine losing just everything?
Yeah, no. It's affecting a wide, cut of the economic profile in California. And yeah, on one level, yes, if you have a hilltop mansion, you probably have the resources to rebuild that. Where some of these more, middle-class neighborhoods, even though you're living in Southern California, I know the average wages may be higher, but the average cost of living is significantly higher. So
right.
Yeah, these are working-class people that have had their homes destroyed. And, the insurance is going to be a massive issue, whether these companies will even continue to offer it. Rebuilding is going to be a massive issue. Again, these are real human beings. Thousands of homes and businesses lost. We're up to 24 deaths, and they're expecting even more. And this is still raging because the winds are still raging. And, the water that ran out at these select hydrants, every firefighter I've seen interviewed has said, it wasn't ideal, but to pretend because this one hydrant was running low, that would have somehow made some epic change in all of this is just garbage. You are making political hay out of a tragedy while the ashes are still fucking burning, you miserable scumbag.
People say when they do make a joke about something too soon, yes, dude, it hasn't even ended yet. We don't even know what the final counts are. We don't know where it ends. What are you doing?
The much bigger discussion we should be having are the effects of climate change that the same people admonishing Gavin Newsom want to pretend doesn't even exist. So, yeah, we do have water issues out west. Things are drier than they should be. You throw epic winds on top of it. It's almost impossible to stop the spread of a fire. These embers will blow for miles, and that's why we have all of these different fires going on. This is not the fault of a human being, let alone an administration. It's just fucking disgusting. It's all I can say.
It really is. With every situation comes learning, Like I said, on this level, they haven't dealt with this before. So, yeah, we're figuring out as we go, trying to do our best as we go along. You do see some people from around America kind of rally, like when 9/11 happened. People were really had a lot of camaraderie, were working for each other. And you've seen some of that, but not as much as we should have because it's been politicized in this way.
Exactly. Watching football all this weekend, all of these shout outs to LA, and if you can donate to the Red Cross. And I just know that these networks are doing the right thing to put a spotlight on a tragedy and offer a way that us citizens can help. But a whole swath of this country, a whole slice of us are just sitting there, it's California's fault. Let's own the libs. They want to own the libs at whatever cost they can do. It does not matter the scale of the tragedy. You just want to hate on liberals.
Well, and they're not even thinking about the fact that the greatest economy comes from California and the fact that that's burning down. You shouldn't be worried about that.
Right. You people are all fucked without California, just so you know. This talk about California going to Canada, I know it's somewhat of a joke, but I would love it if the whole West Coast joined Canada. Washington State, Oregon, California, we are economic powerhouses. We have natural beauty. We've got the entertainment industries, Silicon Valley. Like, I would love to go to Canada where they have sensible gun laws and free health care for everyone. Like, threaten me with a good time.
Yes, exactly, dude. I mean, in a heartbeat, I'd take that deal. Like, goodbye. Tourism's going to go way up because you guys are going to miss us when we're gone.
Right, yes. And your buddy talking about, like, emission standards for vehicles. And California gets to dictate that stuff. It's economics. Because if California tells Ford or GM that if you don't give us at least 30 miles to the gallon, you're not going to be allowed to sell in this state, they cannot turn away this size of a market. So they are forced to meet those sorts of standards. Doesn't matter what the national standards are. They will do what California says. Same with textbooks. If you want to leave out, certain topics, you're not going to print textbooks just for California and just for the rest of the country. So you're going to follow what California has to say because California is the leader of this country, economically, socially, pop culture, everything else. So bite me.
Okay. Don't threaten me with a good time.
So, yeah, it's disgusting. I just don't know what else to say. And it's just firing up the resistance out here. And it is going to make Newsom even more of a superstar. So fuck around and find out.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Gavin. I mean, he's paying great attention, talking to people, doing what he can for the moment. Lay off everything, dude, until this is over. You bring up a good point. Well, this is The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve, and we thank you for joining the program today. See our social medias. We're on TikTok for now. While TikTok is still around, we're on Blue Sky. We're on Reddit. That's our big baby right now. And YouTube, Threads, all that good stuff.
Yeah, if it's social, we're on it, as long as it's not owned by an evil genius. And you can check out our website, thevocalminority.net, and you can call our comment line.
844-48-VOCAL. Use your telephone as a microphone. We'll see you next time.
This concludes another episode of The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. The boys give you 2 podcasts each and every week. Thanks for being part of the solution and for listening to The Vocal Minority with Nick and Steve. Until next time.
Champion!